This is Talk Business and Politics with Roby Brock.
Welcome to the program. I am Roby Brock. It is John Brummett from the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette. We had a week off. It's good to see you.
Good to be back.
Yes, we're happy to have you back. So
Good.
I got my hair cut to match your hair being cut there too. So
You
we can
really keep close tabs on my
I think you get your hair cut about every 2 weeks.
3.
Is it every 3?
Yes.
Is this something that from like childhood?
You're going to make me answer.
I am. Why do you get your hair
I
cut
used to
every
try
3
to
weeks?
get, back in the day, I would never get a haircut. Or I'd maybe...
I've seen the old pictures.
Yeah. Or once a year, maybe, whether I need it or not. But when you get old and it thins and you're trying to do a little comb-over fakery with it, it helps to keep it trimmed. Since you must know, is this what the people need to hear?
Well, people like learning more about you personally,
Okay.
John. So
That's, yes, every 3 weeks. Yes.
college football is
Yes.
back.
Yes, it started
I
Saturday
see
night.
that you have already started tweeting again as a result of it, and you found a way to incorporate college football and presidential politics. You said that the Florida-Miami game might be representative of a Trump-Biden debate. You have to go into detail on that.
Did you see the game at all?
I cracked up with it.
Good, good.
Yeah, I did watch the Florida-Miami game. There were a lot of turnovers.
There was frenetic effort on both sides. Those young men were trying hard, and they were running into each other and playing very hard. But they just, both of them just kept messing up with just unbelievable error. Florida had the game in hand, and the guy just throws an unbelievable interception, like a pass I would throw if I were out there. And then Miami, which should not, which in my metaphor is Trump, they should not have a chance. Their base is 35%. They have a freshman quarterback. They have a weak offensive line. They shouldn't be in the game. They got a chance till the end to win it. It's 4th and 37. I get this. They got to make 37 yards or the game is over. They throw a pass 27 yards down the field. The only way that can work is if Florida commits pass interference, which they did, keeping them in the game. And I likened this frenetic effort of this wild frenetic play and the rampant blunder and the ability of one candidate to keep the other candidate in to what I think is going to happen if we get Biden and Trump next year. We'll be going to have debates in which we'll be wincing at Joe's gaffes and recoiling at Trump's outrage. And they're going to be talking over each other. I have said we're going to see an octogenarian cage fight, that's what it's going to be. So,
an octogenarian cage fight.
Right, for our presidency.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah, so that's, I think in terms of metaphor, I don't know, I guess I've been doing it all my life, but everything reminds me of something or represents something else. And that's, so I did I thought I could, on Twitter, for my many followers, record the start of college football season, but have some political relevance as well. And I'm glad you noticed it and found it somewhat humorous.
I liked it,
Good.
as a matter of fact, because
Good.
I was watching the game and I thought that's actually pretty apropos there.
That's the idea.
I think
Good.
that John hit the nail on the head on that one.
That's
right
what
there.
I try to do from time to time. Good. All right.
All right. Well, we learned this past week that Greenland is not for sale, but there seem to be a lot of people that want to buy it, including President Trump and apparently our own Senator Tom Cotton from the state of Arkansas.
Go ahead.
He's your senator.
Okay.
He represents you.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
Were you surprised?
That's a bad metaphor.
Were you surprised to learn that Senator Cotton basically was the one that has put this idea in Trump's mind there, which was what he claimed?
Let me give you the classic answer. Yes and no. No, in that it sounded positively Trumpian. A real estate deal, I'm going to go buy me something. That's a big old mass of land up there. I think I'll buy it. I could see Trump just getting a wild hair and doing that himself. But then to hear that that Cotton was the one with the original idea is surprising in that Trump didn't think of it himself, but that Cotton has these sort of acquisition by America's dominance, that kind of idea, and that he is close enough and influential enough on the pliable, vast ego wasteland that is our president, that's how that could come to be. No, it's actually not the craziest thing either of them has ever done. You know, I think the legal immigration policy, where we don't want any of these bleep hole people, we want smart people. And just pulling out of the Iran nuclear deal unilaterally and abandoning the alliance we had on one side with other countries. I think those are worse. Harry Truman had an interest in buying Greenland back in 1946. There's some reasons to do it, but the way you go about that, I think, is you study it and you begin official government-to-government communication. Would you maybe be interested? We might be interested. So that it doesn't get leaked to the point that the Danish Prime Minister is going, what? This is absurd. So, and then for a senator from Arkansas to be the one to mention it to a Danish ambassador, that ought to be working through the State Department or something, you know? They're both those guys governed by testosterone. Their America First thing means America only. We're going to big dog it. We're a Great Dane with a Chihuahua's personality. I think that's what they want America to be, and we're going to run this world our way. And it just got, it all kind of got humorously exposed.
You're full of the metaphors today there.
Well, I am. I've been working on the Big Dog when that's tomorrow's column. Sometimes these don't just occur to me. I've already written them.
I got you.
Giving you a little.
All right. Are you working in that we should nuke hurricanes as part of
no,
the?
I haven't addressed that issue just yet.
You haven't got there yet.
It's hard to keep up.
All right. Well, Trump did order American companies to quit doing business with China on Friday. Mm-hmm. And that didn't sit too well with Governor Hutchinson. I don't know if you read the story that we turned over the weekend on that, but the governor said that would be a disaster and a mistake. That you can't unwind. Yes, you can't unwind this.
Asa took exception to his president.
Yes.
You all had a major scoop. The specifics are almost irrelevant to the fact that Asa took exception.
Well, there are 6 Chinese companies that have decided to do business in Arkansas, at least announced that they will.
Let me tell you my tomorrow column. It uses the big dog metaphor on Greenland and dismisses that largely as what I've just said. It turns out to be kind of funny, and it shows the Cotton Trump style. But more damning with this America only, we will rule the world unilaterally, that I think they're both about, is this trade stuff, the tariffs. Trade, here's something I say, I'm not giving you my whole column, but trading is by its very nature not a unilateral action. It's a bilateral or multilateral action.
It's a transaction.
And transactions have to be negotiated. You don't just declare on Twitter how you're going to be trading. The New York Yankees do not declare that they're going to send a AA reserve catcher to the Kansas City Royals, a smaller team, and then take their pick from whoever they want on the. That's not how trade works, even when it's a big dog and a little dog. This testosterone spraying, we're the greatest obsession is what they're all about. And no, you can't do trade policy with China. And that, you're talking about a delicate international and economic relationship. We need them, they need us. And it's imperfect, sure, and it needs to be reformed. But the way to reform it is to work with allies, say like Denmark, a fine little country, and others, and stay off the Twitter and stay off the bluster. You don't negotiate trade that way. So this is yet another symptom, and I'm glad, and of course, the president probably, without invoking the Emergency Powers Act and declaring an emergency, cannot tell American companies legally, stop doing business. Practically, you can't pull out all the money that's already there. You could practically, under that authority, stop new money from going. It would all get sued. Congress could undo the Emergency Powers Act. He wants to be an autocrat, and he's figured out tariffs are where I can be like an autocrat. So it's, these are troubling times, Roby.
I think even that you and Representative French Hill, who we also got to comment on this trade war situation with China, he actually said that while he understands what the president's trying to do,
of course he understands,
but he said it needed to be multilateral and not one-sided, like you just said. I think you and French Hill are on the same page.
No, I think I was the only time I've ever had occasion in the last 2 or 3 years to speak with French Hill. Because he avoids critical press, as does Tom Cotton, he's followed that model, he was standing right here after he had been on your show, and I was sitting here, we're getting ready to, and he talked a little bit about trade, and I realized he used to be regular. He used to be a normal banker with economic views, and still is. And on the trade issue, yeah, he knows. It's not that It's not that we can't do anything about our trade relationship with China. It's that the way you go about it is carefully, cautiously, privately. This is one area where government transparency in real time is not advisable. Just like the CIA, they don't make an announcement of what they're doing. Trade, you need to work it out with multilaterally with other nations. Get something that you can hold your nose and accept and present it to the American people. Not Trump's way, to the extent, well, I think his entire presidency is nonsense, but it's never more nonsensical than on this issue. And good for Ace Hutchinson and good for French Hill. And has Tom Cotton spoken on it yet?
He has not.
Okay.
I haven't asked him
Maybe
about
he
it.
has.
So
Well,
I figured I got my fill of Tom Cotton last week with Greenland. So
I think you could do a part 2.
okay.
Right.
Speaking of part 2, there was a Beebe documentary that you are a part of.
Have you seen it?
I have not seen it yet. I was going to wait for it to debut on AETN. I could not be there at the sneak preview there. Right. So
we call it world premiere.
Was it a world premiere?
World premiere
in Arkansas.
It was an Amagon premiere.
It was the world state premiere there. So
right.
Anyhow, you were duly impressed with the documentary, though.
Yes, it's AETN's Men of Distinction documentary series.
Men and Women of Distinction.
Men and Women of Distinction, but I mentioned men because Mike Beebe is male. Okay, forgive me. Okay, but yes, you're right. It's Men and Women of Distinction.
Try to make sure you stay politically correct in this day and age. So.
I'm just trying to defend the context.
You got to watch those little co-eds and everything.
I know. So. Please. It's an hour long. It's done by Catherine Tucker, whom you've had in this chair, who has had some Hollywood experience working with Judd, what's his name? Apatow, and has moved and has returned home. And by the way, I started to say she's Clark Tucker's sister, but she is someone in her own right. So that's a prominent local family. And this is her first. She's done a lot of producing. This is her first directorial work, and she interviewed me for it 3 or 4. I think 3 years.
It's been
ago.
a while.
3.
Back when you only had to have a haircut
I had
once a month.
more hair and wasn't quite this large, and I enjoyed seeing that. But it's a good show. It's adoring, except for my part. And my part, Beebe and I are buddies. I mean, he inducted. Well, we're buddies.
He returns your phone calls.
I return his. No, I'm kidding. We talk when he's not golfing. But I make a few objective observations about his career, which I think are helpful to the story. But it's adoring. But it starts Thursday night. Debuts Thursday night on AETN at 7:00. There's 3 things: the story, his personal story, from an unwed mother born in Amagon in a tar paper shack. A difficult, unusual childhood, and just with the help of the community and his own skills, becomes a college graduate, editor of the Law Review at Fayetteville, leading the man who ran the state senate for 20 years, attorney general, and a governor for the ages. That in itself is quite a story. And then for re-election, 2010, with the red wave coming, you know what he did? He carried all 75 counties. He carried Benton County. And then third, what did he accomplish? He had a Republican legislature, and he had Obamacare with Medicaid expansion, and he deftly, in the way he always did his Senate work, he didn't sponsor anything. He stayed back and let it develop and sort of coordinate it. With the help of young Republicans like Dismaying and Sanders and Burris, we came up with this private option, which embraced Obamacare, but with a conservative notion or conservative element. And we still have that, and it's made a lot of difference in the state's healthcare system and in the state budget. So for those reasons, he deserves a complimentary biography, and he's getting it. Thursday night, 7 on AETN is when it opens.
And then I think it will.
And it'll show randomly after there and on their website.
Yeah.
So everybody take a look at it.
All right. And see John Brummett with more hair.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Good to be with you.
Always a pleasure.
All right. That's all for today's program. I'm Roby Brock. We'll see you next time.
Each day, the promise of our nation begins again. Arkansas and America, moving forward. I help make that promise a reality. It's not for everyone, but people everywhere depend on us. Trucking delivers, or everything stops. And that's what drives me.
I did.
You'll find us at the end of a lot of long country roads, covering over 60% of the great state of Arkansas. Our 17 electric distribution cooperatives are working day and night to provide reliable, affordable power to over 500,000 homes, farms, and businesses, just like yours. The Electric Cooperatives of Arkansas, your local energy partners.